So good evening, everybody. And this is Noreen McClendon, your facilitator and host. This is another session of Free to Heal, where we are formerly incarcerated loved ones, children of people who have been incarcerated. We come together weekly trying to heal the ravages of incarceration and those wounds that have come from mass incarceration to us as individuals, families, communities, and the society at large. And so this is I want to take a quote. Let me have the quote again, sweetie.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell her to read that again because
So the quote is, "You only are free when you realize you belong no place at all. The price is high, the reward is great." And that was from Maya Angelou. And so I wanted us to kind of unpack it a little bit and go through, our understanding. I'm probably going to need to leave it right here so I can unpack it. So when you realize you belong no place, what does that mean to you all? What do you understand that to mean? Terrell?
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
To me, it's saying wherever I am, that's where God wants me to be.
Word.
And I started to tell people all the time, I'm not late. I'm on time. I'm on God's time. So that's how I take it. I'm where God wants me to be and doing God's will. So that's where I'm supposed to be. So I ain't supposed to be nowhere you want me to be. I'm gonna be where God wants me to be.
And that's how I read it as well. Because, and I think of it, I'm gonna use an example, an analogy. Mm-hmm. When you think about church, a lot of churches operate within the walls or the confines of the church building, but they're not the church outside the building. So the place itself, the church, you don't necessarily belong to the church in the building. The building, if it has to be done in the building,
that's not church.
Not free.
But that's not church.
And you're not free. It's certainly not free. Right? You're not free because you're confined to a specific location. And the creator is, and all things in the universe are not confined to a particular place. And a lot of times, like people say, home is where the heart is. Well, I had an experience when I was young, when I went away to college. My mother moved out of state, the state that I lived in, that I grew up in. I didn't have a home. Home was where my mama was, right? Mm-hmm. Home was where mama was. That's where home was for me, right? So everybody's going to have a different experience, but whatever you tie yourself to, or a specific geographic place, or even a particular relationship. Hear me?
Yes, we do.
Even if that's a place in your mind that puts you in bondage, or it makes you less free. If you got to have a specific relationship, or the big meme going around the past week or so is this whole list of places a guy shouldn't take a girl on a first date. Mm-hmm. And it's like people saying places like the Cheesecake Factory and all this stuff, and I'm like, I love the Cheesecake Factory. But one of the responses that I saw was, if this is the right person for you, it don't matter whether you at McDonald's, the Cheesecake
Taco Bell,
Maestro's, it don't matter.
In-N-Out Burgers, it don't matter.
Because that's the right person. So again, if you confine yourself, you have limited yourself. One of the chapters in my book talks about love incarcerated, where we incarcerate ourselves, we box ourselves in, we imprison ourselves in relationships that are not good for us. But we do it by choice, by choosing the same thing over and over and over again, choosing the same relationships over and over and over again, even though they don't work out for us. But what happens is we understand how to function in that particular dysfunction.
I would say you learn how to function in dysfunction.
Yep. And when we do, we become very protective about staying in that environment. That's a prison we create for ourselves. But you're really free when you realize that freedom goes with you wherever you are. You are not required to be any place at all. Wherever you are is where you're supposed to be at that particular time. I had a friend today come by, and she has been trying to build her nonprofit, and she finally got something that she had been waiting for a very long time. And she was like, everything in his timing. Well, everything in the universe is in timing, right? You don't get to choose what that timing is. And sometimes you think you're ready and you're not. Sometimes it's a matter of the timing. When I went on my vacation, I talked to my cousin's husband, and I found out that they're doing a business to help develop programs to teach, or programs for people involved in farming and gardening and basically growing food, agriculture. So I was telling him that at one point, probably 11, 12 years ago, I wanted my board to allow me to purchase a piece of land so that we could do urban farming. And I was telling him what I wanted to do, and he was telling me it was a great idea and all of that. And I said, yeah, they just weren't, maybe I was just ahead of my time. And he said, at the end of the conversation, he said, maybe it just wasn't the right time for it, which let me know I can now, maybe I'll go back and revisit that at this point. Maybe now is the timing. When the doors open up, then the doors open up. So no place, when she reiterates no place at all, it also attaches to the timing for things. It attaches to a physical location. It attaches to what you say to yourself about yourself. It attaches to a relationship. It attaches to familial employment, all kinds of things. If you want to be free, don't confine yourself to any of those things. Be adaptable. What is Terrell? One of those things Terrell says, one of your acronyms, Terrell, something adapt. What's your I know it's 3 A's. It's 3 A's, baby. What
the 3A system: assess, adjust, and address.
Thank you. Okay. That's assess, the bottom line. But you gotta address them though. In other words, you're gonna do all those things. You're gonna make an adjustment. Right? After you've done the assessment, you're going to adjust things. You're going to move because you're not imprisoned by one particular thing. And these are the things that we have to get out of. One of the things I would like to say about this too is if we can free ourselves from our misconceptions about life, and sometimes like we have created these rules that we got to live by, that we believe them, but they're not true. And I'm going to use this one that I yesterday, a friend of mine had a very and I see your hand, but he didn't have the outcome at a court hearing that he went to. And he was very emotional about it. And he actually cried on the video. He shed a couple tears, and somebody must have told him, get on your feet, whatever. So he comes back on a video a little bit later, and he's apologizing, saying, I'm sorry if I upset y'all by being so emotional. I went off.
You did.
Let me tell you something. You have a right to be emotional.
That was your feelings.
Right. You're entitled to be emotional about the issue. You are fighting for the life of your children. If you can't be emotional about that, what the heck can you be emotional about? But the underlying thing that had me so vexed is that in our culture and in society, we teach men, y'all shouldn't cry, You shouldn't feel emotions. You shouldn't express your emotions. You got to be strong, and it's bullshit.
All day, every day.
Say it again.
All day, every day.
Bullshit. It is unhealthy for them, and it's unhealthy for the women that love them. Period. So again, this is one of those things that we have confined ourselves to, a belief system. And this man literally goes back on social media to apologize to people that he may have had feel some type of way because he was feeling some type of way. No. I was irate. And then I was like, ooh. I said, but now, yes, okay, you cry because his friend told him, on your feet, soldier, back in the battle. And I'm with that too. I understand that. But you
still got to work through that pain
for being emotional. What'd you say, Di?
Still has to work through that pain he's going through.
Period.
He has to work through that one particular feeling first. You got to work through that one. You can't just jump back over there. You have to work with that. You have to identify it. You have to recognize it. You have to feel it, and you have to work yourself. Princess, they don't want to see you. Get over here. No, we don't want to see Princess. You know I don't like her. No, because she got her costume. I'm gonna let you see. She got her costume. It says "boo." Don't play with me, y'all. Look, stick. Let them see your costume, boo boo. Don't play. Let them see.
Oh,
boo.
man.
You know what? The little skirt.
You see her bow? Don't play. You see her little bow too? Don't play. I take good care of Princess.
You're right. We don't want to see you, Princess.
They didn't want to see you. See, go sit down. Go sit down. Go.
Wait, Di. Well, only because I'm jealous ain't nobody buying me no outfits. As many outfits as you buy her, I need you to come on down here and buy me some outfits.
That's what I said. I said, I'm gonna stop shopping for you, little lady.
Okay. But I'm sorry, but I had to, like I say, it made me irate that this man felt the need to apologize. Literally, I've known him for over a decade. And as long as I've known him, he's been in this fight, and he loves his children and all those kinds of things. And he's a stand-up guy. And so for him to be disappointed, he doesn't need to hide that. Men.
Yeah, because that's what you feel. If you feel hurt, I feel hurt. You can't tell me I don't feel hurt. If I feel disappointed, if I'm angry, you cannot tell me how to feel about nothing that's going on with me. Like,
and
I can't tell you what's going on with you. I can't tell you how long you should feel. Yeah, I can't tell you how long you should feel like that, or how you. No, because it doesn't work like that for me. It might work like that for you, but it don't work like that for me.
Exactly. Terrell, you had your hand up.
No, I was just gonna say that's just one of the false narratives in human nature and human behavior. Whether it's a man or a woman, your emotions are emotions, your feelings are your feelings. Crying, you cry.
That's right.
That's one thing that it's really crazy, because for some reason he don't allow me to cry. I'll be like, God damn, why I can't shed a tear? But here you go, I'm in the bed or just somewhere in my bed, just laying there. Sometimes the tears just come down.
They
come out. They come out. They just don't come out when I feel they should come out.
Okay. That's interesting.
Because my mind hasn't been set like that all my life. So being now 51 years old, it's not gonna change. But I know that it's false now. That's some bullshit. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that I do not push on the younger generation or anybody that I talk to, that it's okay to cry. I told my son, man, let that shit out. Let it out, brother. Don't hold it in, because I used to be a bottler. So I learned how to deal with my situations and what coping mechanisms to utilize during different situations. And crying sometimes is not the answer for me. Sometimes it is, but at the same time, it's always been a false narrative and falsehood teaching, especially in Black communities, that crying is weak.
Exactly.
Shut up! Stop crying.
Right. Wait,
what you crying for? I'm gonna give you something to cry for.
Shut up, I give you something to cry about. Look.
Yeah, exactly.
Shut up, I give you something to cry about. Right?
But some people are just sensitive. Some people are emotional. Some people cry easy. Some people cry when they get mad. So it's like, crying is a natural thing. It's a human behavior that, like I said, the falsehood has been taught and trickled down, especially in urban communities.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing, you know, you said something that sometimes you can't cry. And today, interestingly enough, my friend told me that, you know, there are things that she feels like she wants to have a good cry about, but she hasn't been able to. And I said, why? And she said the tears just don't come. So this is the second person today to say to me that they were in a situation where they may even want to cry and the tears don't come. Listen, as my friends will tell you, a cream puff. I cried at the drop of a hat. You know.
Yes.
What you say, Cheryl? Cheryl back in the
yes.
A hat. Terrell, make your head drop. Look. Anybody think about her? She just want to see me cry. She just want my mascara running down my face. Rufus, you know, so.
Look, and Miss Cheryl, I said yes.
Huh?
I said yes, you do.
I do. I cry in a heartbeat. But you know what? Part of it, I'm sure, is my mother always encouraged us from children to express ourselves. Like, I could even challenge her parenting as long as I did it with respect. My mother was a genius in that way. And it's amazing to me because she wasn't raised by either of her parents. She was raised by her grandparents. Her mom died when she was 3. And then my grandfather came back to California. So she was raised by grandparents and aunts, but she was an excellent parent. I think I was telling you yesterday, I don't know how she
was talking about
6 of us. But the thing of it is that doesn't mean that you got the capacity to nurture the individual personalities of 6 people.
That's the whole thing.
I want them to be able to see you when you speak.
What I tell people that's something that I actually realized years ago, that this is what happens. So the Wallace.
So my screensaver is on, so my book is there.
The Wallace family had, like, it was 6 boys and 3 girls.
Mm-hmm.
And they raised them a certain way. So I'm thinking, like, in large families like that, what happens is, these are my 2 daughters, and Tony and Di are my other 2 girls. So she's the oldest and she's smart. So I say to all of them, you should be smart like Noreen. Mm-hmm. Noreen, why do you not learn math? That's stupid. Your sister's smart. And you have to raise each child individually according to personality, because Noreen likes to do things on her own. Roberta liked for me to pick her up and sit her next to me all the time. Di liked to open the back of the clocks and stuff. And Tony liked to read, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So in that's really something for a mother to actually realize that that's what you do with children, and you don't raise them according to the other child, which it's a method to doing that kind of thing. They're not
very much so.
They're not cookie cutters,
right?
Cookie cut children,
right?
And people are individual personalities, and for her to do that is still. It's a lot of love, but it's still, you have to absolutely realize that that's what the capacity for a child is, to raise that individual child like that. I say that about people who are bosses. You should know the personality of each one of your workers. Mm-hmm, absolutely know each one of them.
And what I will say is what I believe, and which all of what Cheryl said, I totally agree with. One of the things I think what it was is with my mother is, probably because she didn't have parents, she was very interested. She was genuinely concerned about our well-being and what we thought and what we felt, and making us feel wanted, cared about, and heard. And you have to want that. And I think, and the same is true because I've been an employer for a lot of years. I've been responsible for employing people. And Miss Roberta, example, right? I told you, I got her dealing with one of my staff people about something. And I told her, I said, now, Miss Roberta, I'm going to tell you up front, expect this particular thing. Know that it don't have nothing to do with you. But because I know my staff person, I can tell her that I'm paying attention to who they are, and And Miss Roberta experienced it just like I said it would be. And I was just grateful that I told her up front so that she would understand and she wouldn't respond to it in any way. And worse than that, she wouldn't internalize it and think it has something to do with her, because it has nothing to do with her. These kinds of things happen. And so, but it's being genuinely concerned about who that person is. So back to our quote, once you realize you belong no place, right? But in order to do that, in order to come to a place where you realize you don't belong any place, the price for that is high. Mm-hmm. What's the price? What's the price? We got to give up the old beliefs.
Yep, fast, super fast.
We gotta agree. We gotta realize, be flexible, be fluid. Don't be so set in how things have to happen. Another thing my friend was telling me today, she was going through something and she said God told her, if you do anything, I cannot get involved. A lot of times we try to step in his position, and because he gives us free will, once you start working on it, he got to let it go. Hands off.
Every time.
That just gave me, I just had a revelation, y'all sitting here. Many years I have been explaining to women, I read a book a long time ago called Fascinating Womanhood, and it talked about how when women step in and start doing everything, men step back and they allow them to do it. And I have counseled more than one woman. I think you're doing too much. Step back and let him do some things. And invariably, the women that didn't listen are divorced to this day. They're divorced today. But it just hit me. The reason men function like that is the first man functioned like that. Yahweh himself, because he gave us free will, when you start functioning, he lets you handle it. And when a woman starts doing something, a man will let her handle it. If you want to take it on, now the problem is that women were not designed to take everything on. We weren't designed to be the provider, the protector, even though we have it in us to do that, because we are as effective as men. We are the same source and substance, but we weren't designed to do that. So when we do, we become overwhelmed. Even if we could do it for a while, after a while we get worn out because we weren't designed to do all of that. And then we get frustrated and then we begin to resent the men. But a lot of it starts because we insist on stepping up and doing all of the things that we asked them to do. I had one friend, she wanted her husband to do, okay, well, he doing the dishes, but I don't like the way he do the dishes. Well, damn. You know what I'm saying? Is he doing the dishes? That's the issue. Now you want to tell him how he got to do it? Well, just do them yourself, right? But then you're mad with him and now you're frustrated all the way around. No two people are exactly the same.
No.
If I'm right-handed and you left-handed, I might wash the cup out with my left hand. You might wash it with the right, but now I'm frustrated because you're not doing it with the right hand when you left-handed. It's small things like that, literally.
So
come up so they can, because
I believe that, like, I think I would probably never be in a relationship, or I'm just good by myself. And I'm okay with that. And I don't get lonely, but I know I'm like that. I'm picky, nitpicky. I'm that person.
So that is a form of control, and it may come from having felt out of control or having no control over stuff for such a long period of time. People who have not been in control of their circumstances for long periods of time in ways that it really affected them often become controlling because they felt for so long out of control and an inability to control their environment. And so that can happen. One of the things I know is it is very common in the children of drug addicts. because the home and the environment of a drug addict or an alcoholic is very erratic. It tends to be very erratic in those things. And so their children never feel safe and they don't feel that they can control it. Another group of people that I found several of that this becomes an issue is people who lose their parents young, because everything is put upon them. They don't have any ability, they don't feel any stability. And so they become interested in controlling. I see your hand, Di.
Yeah, I go through that here with Jacob and Haven more than Taurus. Well, all three of them, but Jacob and Haven do it the most. Like, remember I showed you his room? He has all these little men everywhere, and everything has to be a certain way for him. Like if I go in there, like Jacob, clean the room up like I clean it. He will clean up, but he will specifically leave this right there, like that. You know what I'm saying? Haven, she's a junker. She has to have stuff everywhere. It doesn't feel right. I guess to me, I've learned that she doesn't feel right if it's not a lot of stuff everywhere. And you know, that bothers me. Yeah, that bothers me. And I be having to get that up. With Taurus, like when I was taking them to counseling, she would rather sit and talk to me than talk to a counselor. And I keep telling her, I told her, baby, I might not be here. You have to learn how to speak to people. You have to learn how to express yourself to people so people can understand you. You know what I'm saying? But still, does she do that? No. She, like, I just called you and told you about the school. She doesn't know how to express herself. She just gets all into these highs and lows and try to talk her way out of it. But I'm trying to tell you, I know what your situation is. That's why I'm still here. Am I fighting against my own flesh? Yes, I am. Am I fighting against myself? Yes, I am. Because it's frustrating for me to see these kids that need the help that they need. And I'm really trying to give it to you, but you're really not trying to hear me. You know, and I don't understand that. I don't come across as disrespectful. I don't come across as rude. I'm not a name caller. I'm not a bully. I'm not none of that. I've been sure early enough to know that how to talk to a child because I had kids and my mother never screamed and hollered and cursed at me. So I didn't do that. That's something I don't do. Mm-hmm. So I talk to you in a manner that I feel you can understand because I know exactly where you are. I know exactly what happened to you. So I know your age say 16, but I know you still 11. I know that. So I try to come across and talk to you slowly as I can, not raising my voice, not moving my hands and my head, all that. I don't do none of that. I sit and I really try to talk to you. But for some reason, you just don't get it. And that's frustrating for me. Because like I told her, what something happened to me, I want to make sure you're going to be okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What?
And you know, the one thing I can say that may be of little comfort at this point is there were times where, and I'm sure even with your own natural children, this was the case, where it didn't seem like they were listening, but then you look up some years later and they get it, you know. Mm-hmm. They may not be able to process and those kinds of things right now, but they'll get it. They'll get it. You know, hopefully.
I'm hoping so. That's all I keep my fingers crossed for. Because they're already up against a brick wall, you know what I'm saying? And when that wall is that thick and that high, it's hard for you to get over. Mm-hmm. You know, it's really hard for you to get over. And I want you to be able to get over it with ease. That's all I'm trying to teach you, to get over with ease.
But so the price can be, let me say this, any price that we don't want to pay is too high for us, or it's very high. I have a friend of mine and we always laugh. I said, do you know the definition of way? Like way over there, way down there, way across there is anywhere I don't feel like going. That could be from here to the front door. It could be from here to the couch over there to pick up the remote control. The remote is way over there, right? It's in the same room. But for me, it's anywhere that I don't want to be, right? So a high price to pay is anything, particularly because of the first part of it, the discussion where we incarcerate ourselves in belief systems, in habits, in relationships. We put ourselves in these boxes. We get this thing we're going to stand on, and this is it, and this is how I'm standing, this is what I'm doing. And so now that we boxed ourselves in, we're no longer free, right? And It's very high price to get out of that. It's a very high price, because now what we got to do is we got to unlearn what we learned. And that's very difficult. Go ahead. I see you waving your hands.
Oh, because I get emotional about that too, because like for my marriage, I had to unlearn everything I learned in that marriage. I had to unlearn everything I did in that marriage. And I had to set my own self free. Because, I come back, my grandma and them, nobody really divorced in my family. My mom did, but I was 16, 17 when she divorced my dad. So, I come from the people, the ladies, women in my family was strong. They stood by, they did their part, or whatever the case may be. But was it right? No. Was it the right way to teach us? No. But it took me a while just to remove myself from that thinking, remove myself from that place. You know what I'm saying? So now, he, I don't know, because you got to remember he's kind of cuckoo. So he tried to play these games, and now it's just all I could do is just chuckle, like, wow, for real. Back in '90, that probably would have worked. You know what I'm saying?
But not today.
But it ain't working now. And
not
now I done set myself free from that, and I don't feel bad, because and like I said, everybody asked, well, what took you so long? It wasn't the time.
Yeah.
It wasn't the time. That's what it wasn't the time. I battled with that for a long time. Why did you do that? But it wasn't the time. When the time was right, that's when it happened.
One of the things that I say to you often is, through your experiences, you have helped me tremendously. And I know there are other people that you have helped along the way. And sometimes we have experiences that are not pleasant, but they teach us lessons, and they become our tools and things that we can share. What do they say? Your testimony may become somebody's survival guide.
Yes.
Right? And so oftentimes those things that you were there for those years that, you probably wanted out or whatever, they're the foundation for a lot of things that I personally know and have learned from you. And they have helped me sidestep some things that I could have gone through because I didn't have information. And so there's a possibility with all of us that the trials and tribulations we go to will help somebody else along the way. And so we have to go through those things, and they may not be pleasant. Like I have said to my ex, the person who I wrote the poem about, I realized that our relationship was preparation for the work that I'm doing now. And he was offended, but I know that I needed to be in that relationship to feel the things that I feel of other people who have either been incarcerated or being a loved one. There are things when we had the conversation a couple weeks ago, and I was telling you guys about the lady, and she was saying that when she was there and they had shut down some visits, and all she kept thinking, the first thing was, oh, I hope my husband didn't get caught up in nothing and they canceled my visit. It literally, even more than 10 years later, still had an emotional effect on me because I lived it. And I needed to do that to be able to work with this population and to serve where I've been called to serve. So oftentimes our trials and tribulations are not for us as much as they are for somebody else in the future that we may be led to serve or put in a position to have to help. And that is one of the fastest ways to get over feeling depressed, is to do something to help somebody else.
Right.
Help somebody else. Take the focus off of yourself. So the price is high. The reward is great. What is the reward, you guys? What is the reward for freeing yourself from, what do you guys think the reward is?
Peace.
Mr.
Peace,
Figueroa.
joy, comfort.
What's the reward, Mr. Figueroa? Okay, how about you, Mr. Terry?
Well, I'm at peace wherever I put my hat. I have a joyful heart, a loving kindness spirit, and so I'm joyful wherever I'm at.
Joy and peace, both, exactly. What about you, Willie?
Well, that thing being free, for me, for me, being free was so lonely. And, by growing up in a place of emptiness, you learn that you want to be needed and you want to be a part of something. And freedom was just too dangerous for me because I made a mess of myself.
Yeah. And you know what it was is you didn't have the foundation to fly from, right? Baby birds are in the nest and the mother makes the nest, but then at some point, but she nurtures them until she knows it's time for them to do something else. And then she starts pulling that nurturing back. I just learned that the other day is that a mother bird will begin to remove some of the cushion that the baby birds sleep on so that it's not quite so comfortable. And then she will literally kick them out of the nest. And I'm sure I can only imagine that first drop is a bitch. To the point where you got to start flapping them damn wings. Oh, right? This is what in my head, right? That's the picture I see, right?
No, Reed, that's the aha moment. That's the
shoot. Oh, okay. Okay,
look, you gonna fly
this. You see what I'm saying? But that first drop is a bitch, right? So I can only begin to imagine what that feels like. But at the end of the day, it's in their best interest because they're going to live a life that they need to know how to fly. That is one of the most important skills that they're going to learn. So if the mother really cares about them, she has to get them to do that, whether she wants to or whether they want to or not. So I'm sure it's heart-wrenching as a mother to have to do that, but at the end of the day, she knows it's really what's in the best interest of her chicks. But Robert, you disconnected yourself trying to answer me or unmute or something. So what is the reward you think of paying the high price of freeing yourself?
Independence.
Yeah, that would be true too, right? You independent of having to be relying on somebody else or somebody's opinion or somebody's approval, which can really be very harsh on a person's psyche, is having to get the approval or affirmation from another person. If you cannot find self-love and self-peace and affirmation within yourself, and you need that from other people, it becomes a very up and down kind of existence. Because on any given day, they may feel it, and on the next day they not, or in the same day. Terrell, I see your hand.
Look, what you described was today. It's Halloween. So if you ain't yourself, you got a mask on.
That's right.
Period. So being yourself, authenticity, being genuine, being you, being the best you, is all you should offer the world.
Absolutely.
Period.
Yeah, and it's the only thing of any.
A lot of people don't know how to do that.
It's the only thing of any real value that you have, though. It's the only thing.
But a lot of people don't know that. They don't even know how to really truly be themselves because they've been faking to be somebody else for so long. They don't even know how to be their genuine self.
Well, they've been programmed to believe that mask or being what society would have them to believe they should be, all of those things are what you should do. But the reality is it's the furthest thing from the truth. It's the furthest thing. And like you say, with Halloween, I mean, people put on masks for all sorts of things, Terrell.
Yeah, all the time. That's why I say today, what's today? Halloween. It's literally Halloween today. And we're sitting here talking about how people mask in life and not themselves. They're not genuine. They playing 20 different roles and, 20 different people and don't know themselves.
And in the context of this conversation, think about this. Think about how each one of those particular masks becomes another handcuff. Because now I'm trying to keep this up. First of all, I got to remember, who am I to Willie? Wait, who did I tell Roberta I was? Or what did I tell? Wait. Okay, just trying to keep them straight.
Or the mood swings, you know what I mean?
That's too much work.
Oh my gosh, it's so much work, right?
That's too much work.
But and this is what causes dis-ease of the mind. This is what causes unhappiness. I love the fact that Otis was saying the reward for him is joy. Because people are trying to be affirmed by other people all the time, and they have to wear a variety of masks everywhere they go. They want to fit in everywhere that they go. First of all, my mother used to tell me this as a little girl, and I really, she had to pound this in my head. Everybody's not going to like you, Noreen. And it was such a simple statement, but it's true. Everybody don't like me. I ain't everybody's cup of tea.
That's real.
And that's okay with
That's
me.
life. That's life, though.
But as a little girl, I thought everybody should just get along. We should all be able to play together. And why can't we just all be friends and we can share toys? Yeah, well, whatever, Noreen. It ain't so. And, and my mother was a realist. Look, that's not going to happen. Okay, everybody's not going to play fair. Everybody's not going to get along. Some girls want you to not be friends with this person because they mad at them, which I never did. You know, like that never made sense to me, even as a little bitty person, 4 or 5 years old. She ain't do nothing to me. Why am I mad at her? Kind of a thing. I never got it, which is also why I don't have a lot of female friends. They do that in prison. They do. They still doing it in prison. Yeah, see that they'd have to do something to me because I wouldn't be able to go along with that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I can't click up with you like that. So whatever it is, y'all gonna have to be mad at me and whatever y'all do, whatever come after that will just have to come after that. I had to suffer them consequences, but I'm not gonna be that person to somebody else. I'm not gonna be mean to them just because.
I had a friend, they call her the Godfather out of DC because she ran the DC girls and she's stud. And I was friends with her little girlfriend and she said to me, I'm mad at her. You gonna talk to her? I said, yeah, she ain't did nothing to me. And Spanky said, yeah, I didn't think
And look, and this is the thing. The thing of it is you had already established yourself as a person that she couldn't intimidate in that way. Because if she thought she could, she wouldn't have said nothing. Question. There wouldn't have even been a question, but she knew. She said, "I didn't think you would." That was a hopeful question, Cheryl. She was hoping that maybe she might convince you to somehow, get on the bandwagon at least this one time. But she knew better. In her heart, she knew better. You know what I mean? And one thing I just want to say, Miss Roberta, I know how you feel about what you said, but I want to tell you this. Don't even box yourself into that. Because for the right person in the right situation, you may get in a relationship. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
There's somebody that may be able to handle that for the right person. You see what I'm saying? The person that's for you. Because there's somebody for everybody. In fact, the friend that I stayed with in Georgia, we were having a conversation because when she was here in California, she dated a guy, and this guy had lost his parents very young. And as I said earlier, in him, what was true is it caused him to be a control freak. And he needed to control. The more in love with her he became, the more he wanted to control her behavior. It was fear that he would lose her. And it made him very controlling. And we were talking about that. And I was saying to her that while his expectations for her or what he needed from her were unrealistic, he really wanted to isolate her. If he could have stopped her from working, that would have been fine with him. So he knew where she was and could put his hands on her at all times. That would have been perfect. But the issue is that her personality was as weird and quirky as him. So a lot of her behavior was as isolated, not because of him, but because of who she was. And their quirky together worked really good. Like they were really probably the best fit for each other that I've ever seen in all the years that I've known her, which is about over 30 years, right? He was the best fit, but the control got to be claustrophobic after a while. and she just couldn't tolerate it. In addition to the fact that he had the nerve, the person who really needed her to be isolated, he was the one who was always cheating.
Okay, do that sound a little narcissistic or what?
Yeah. And listen, a lot of times, trauma and things will cause a person to become narcissistic because it starts out as self-preservation.
Yes.
And it gets perverted into self-centeredness. It gets perverted from being a good principle of survival and protecting ourselves and turns into narcissism and being self-centered and in such a way that only what I feel or my needs matter. So, you know, I think I just want to, we're already getting a little short on time, but I want to just give Rufus, I know you finally, have you been able to listen in a little bit and see if you had any comments?
I did. I had my hand up for a minute. You took it down.
Oh, we're sorry.
I'm sorry. You know what? When I thought I saw your hand up, it was the clapping and not the hand raised. And so I said, oh, well, maybe, but anyway, but you know, by all means, Rufus, you know, I say this all the time. Please, you guys, just jump in. If you see I missed you, go on and let it go.
Okay. Well, I just want to comment on when you said what you said about freedom, being free, you know, in your mind. And I always you know, I embraced that once. I mean, it may sound corny, but if you look at it, it makes a lot of sense for me. But that Whitney Houston song, "The Greatest Love of All," that was like my theme song, you know, and it was like you know, no matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity. So when I was in prison, that's the mindset I had, you know. So I was free in my own thinking, at least, and you know, even though they had, you know, my body and, you know, imprisoned in there, but I was free in my own thoughts, in my, you know what I mean.
And you could go anywhere and believe whatever you wanted about yourself. You didn't have to believe that you were horrible and you were a monster and all of the things in prison, industrial complex would have you to believe about yourself.
Right. And then I like what I also agree with, you know, I ain't gonna say I like it, but I agree with what Terrell said, you know, as far as the emotions. I mean, you know, I like what you said in terms of emotions, as far as you know, a man should, you know, be able to embrace his emotions in terms of crying and all that. But what Terrell said, you know, that happened with me too. I wanted to cry. I can't cry. Just like when we went to the board, there's a lot of guys was like, man, as soon as they said, you know, suitable, I boohooed like a baby. And I told them, you know, I wish I could. I just felt like I never could, you know what I mean? And it's sad to say, I even thought about if my mom passed when I was in there, will I be able to cry? And I just didn't think I could, because I had got to the point. It's sad to say, I don't know. I wish I'm over that now. I hope I am, now that I got a chance to touch her and see her and kiss her and all that. But I always felt that, you know, my situation made me look at things as the reality of what it is. And I was able to accept whatever the reality of what a situation is. I accept that. You know what I mean? I accept that for what that is. But the emotional part, I used to tell, I wanted a good cry. I want to be able to cry, you know, and just really get it out. I want that. It's just so bottled up in me that I'm just waiting for the moment to get it out. But I will say that I can watch a sad movie about something like a kid being lost or lonely and have to fend for themselves. That will get me for sure. You know what I mean? But all the other situations, I used to think like, man, or your heart is really that hardened that you can't let it out. You know what I mean?
And so when it comes to your personal circumstances, it's harder to cry. But when you look at somebody else's, you can. But I like to tell you today, so now you make the third person in one day that I had never heard that as an experience before. That a person wanted to cry and the tears didn't come. I never knew that was an experience. And so I learned something today. And if I ever hear somebody say that, at least I'll know that they're not making it up. Not that I didn't believe any of you guys. I'm just saying there's some things people say, well, who can't cry? Right? I can just imagine somebody saying, what you mean you can't cry? All you gotta do is just cry. But that's three people in one day Anything
Yeah.
that's threes, I know is a real thing. It's a pattern.
Right. Right.
The universe is built in threes. So if I got three of y'all telling me the same thing, and three of you, 2 men and 1 woman. So to me, that is plenty enough proof to me that that is a real thing. There are people who cannot cry when they want to cry. And a circumstance would have to be such that it causes it to come. And so that's something that I learned today. And I'm just grateful.
It's only for me,
I
have to say, it's only because it wasn't like that before I went to prison. It's only because of I accept my I wanted out so bad I couldn't get out. You know what I mean? I wanted certain things and I just couldn't control it. So it get to the point where I learned to deal with certain things. And now that I see the raw reality of what life is or my circumstances is, or what if somebody say that this happened, okay, that's what happened. Who can change that? So I'm emotionalist about that, I guess. I don't know. But now that I kind of got my feet back wet out here, maybe there's a situation that will allow that again.
Well, I don't know, because I could tell you this, my friend never been to prison.
Yeah.
And she said she wants to have a good cry about a particular thing, but the tears just don't come. And so what I'm telling you is, it's 3 totally different sets of circumstances.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. From you, Terrell, and it's 3 different things, but yet and still the result for you guys is the same. And so it's very interesting to me, and it's something that I learned today. You know what I'm saying? That there are people that may be in a situation that want to cry and the tears don't come.
Yeah.
So that's a very interesting thing that like I said, I just learned something. But I want to give you, Otis, I want to give you an opportunity to any last comments that you want to make for this evening before we go, Otis.
Well, you just got to be, look at yourself and just say, look, I can't be there, and I can't do this, and I can't do that, but I'm at peace with myself, and I'm joyful, and I'm happy, and I'm content where I'm at. It doesn't matter where you put your hat. You're just as happy as can be. Nobody can take that away from you.
Yeah, because if you're happy up here and in here, you take that everywhere you go, and they can't take it from you. That's locked in places they can't get to. That's awesome. Mr. Steffens.
Yeah, that word freedom, when I think about that, I've always been captured with my thoughts and feelings and emotions, and what it drove me to do bad things. And the incarceration, I only learned that what I was hurting by so much. And it was always, I talk about that lonely feeling. That lonely feeling never leaves me. And I try to feel it with so much. It used to be drugs and alcohol, but now I'm trying the presence of the Lord. I want to be Christ-minded. I want to be Christ-feeling, and I want to be able to love.
That's awesome. I love that. Mr. Figueroa. You're not going to hang
I'm back.
Time?
No, I got through this time. So the thing with me is I think I'm a bit analytical. So I usually think everything out before anything even happens. And, that's what I get stuck on, trying to figure everything out. So it's like even when my mom died, I didn't shed any tears. I'm used to people dying in my family. So, it wasn't until like the following year where I was thinking, oh, my mom's birthday's coming up, and I'm already planning to go visit her. I'm thinking, oh, wait a minute.
I can't.
I can't.
That's tough.
Yeah, so then it starts hitting me.
Yeah.
But I am a sucker for certain movies. So let's say it's weird. I may be solid as hell, but when it comes to movies, they might get me in a certain mood, and at the very end, something really really nice happens to somebody, and there come the damn tears. Like, what the hell?
That?
Yeah. Why?
Okay. So Robert, Cheryl wants to ask you a question. Have you cried about your mom? Yeah, he said the following.
No. I almost did the following year. Yeah, but then it's because I realized there's no mom.
Mm-hmm. You think it's a hindrance for you not to grieve her?
No. No, I'm just used to people dying.
Mm.
I didn't get to say bye to my grandparents, a lot of my aunts, uncles.
Mother,
They're all gone.
Robert,
Yes,
it's your mom.
yes, I know.
All right.
Okay. All right.
I only
Thank you.
pushed that because I was blessed to come home and take care of my mother for the last 5 years of her life. And I with everybody, I think for me, whatever happened between us in my lifetime, I had to let it go to see her in the state she was in. And and I'm not telling you to, I'm just saying, when the feeling comes, I don't know. It's just like, to me, it's better because I wanted to die when my mother died. Me and her didn't have the best relationship, but I wanted to die.
Yeah.
Because you don't want
Well, we'd been like separated for like the past. It was like 31 years since I finally actually got to see her at her house, and she only lived like a year after. You know, I already knew she was dying. She didn't really tell me. She kind of like hinted
But you figured
during
out.
during one of the visits. I already knew. She didn't tell anybody, but yeah, I knew something was wrong.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for your transparency with that.
Yeah.
No problem.
And so, Mr. Terrell, final thoughts, comments, if any?
I would just listen to that. That was really, really, really deep right there. And thank you for sharing, and everybody else. It's just, I didn't cry when I got sentenced to 11 years or 12 years. Didn't cry when I got sentenced the second time. Didn't cry when my dad died. I mean, emotions, sometimes they just don't cry. I mean, it's how God makes us. How God made me. I'm gonna put it like that. I'm gonna use the I. It's how God made me. And like I said, sometimes I'm in my bed and tears just to come down my eyes. You know what I'm saying? And I had, the last time I got out, I had a straight cry breakdown on the freeway. But I was missing my mom because my mom was out of town. But this time when I came home, my mom was living in a shelter. So they lit fire up under my ass to get myself together. You know what I mean? And so I can help her. And I lost my dad. I still haven't really grieved him. I'm still grieving my brother from 2005. You know, and you know, my grandfather, the only grandfather I knew, and the only grandmother I knew, they both died when I was in prison the first time and the second time. So it's just, the crying thing is crazy, but the emotion of it's how God makes certain people. You know, and it's just, it's no therapeutic thing that we can go through to make it better or change it, because that's not the way that we're aligned. We're aligned to be the way we are so that we can be resilient and fend off certain things that we have to do being the way we are. So, and that's why it was crazy, because the other day people were talking about normalcy. What is normalcy?
Right.
And with, you know, there's no normalcy. You know what I'm saying? What is normal? We don't know what normal is because everybody is different.
Yeah.
But I would say, you know, the emotional thing is like, it's gonna come. When it comes, let it out. Because, you know,
right. Yeah. See, that's what
just
I think.
let it out. Because when it comes, just let it out.
I think that's when people do themselves harm, Terrell, is that when it comes trying to fight it, I think that would do you a lot of harm. It's one thing if it don't come. It's another thing when it's asking for release and you shut it down. That's what's
when them emotions come, whenever them emotions hit any person that has been in prison, when them emotions come on the street, they gonna feel it and they gonna succumb to it. Trust and believe me. It ain't a matter of fighting it. Cause when it happens, you gonna be like, God, you gonna find yourself like going through the motions. It ain't no fighting it. When it happens, it's gonna happen. Period. That's just how it happens. Straight up.
Thank you. Any last thoughts from you, Rufus?
No, my last thought, I love this topic, and one thing about me, I want it to come. I'm begging for it to come, so I think it'll be a big relief for me.
Yeah.
I want to bask in it, tell you the truth.
Okay, and let it go.
I'm
I
just
heard
ready
that,
for
and
it.
I'm gonna pray that you get it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So you could just,
yeah,
because you'll probably feel 100 years lighter.
I think so. I
You
absolutely
know,
think so.
one of the things that I find is when I've had emotional stress and stuff is when I purge things. I get rid of things, like clean out a closet and different things. That gives me
Mm,
a sense of relief too. A sense, and there's an unburdening. It has a they don't seem connected necessarily, but they really are for me. Where my emotions, if I start getting rid of stuff and purging and cleaning up things and ordering things, it makes me feel a release. So I know what
right,
that release feels like. And
right,
I hope that you have that. I hope that you get
right.
it. Miss Di, any final comments from you, love?
I enjoyed the topic. Thank you, Miss Roberta, for sharing that quote. It was much needed over here. Thank you.
Yes, that quote was awesome.
And so that's the cue to let you go ahead and check out, Miss Roberta.
Yeah, I just realized.
Can you guys hear her?
I kind of knew, but
No.
Yeah.
The quote, it resonated in so many ways in my life and in every situation. And so when I say I'm humble or I'm trying, all right, good night.
Love you, Miss Roberta.
Miss Cheryl, check out for me. Any final comments from you, love?
No, thank you so much. Happy to be back. Thank you.
Yes. So I just want to thank all of you guys. My big takeaway was that there are people who can't cry. That's like a big learn for me, like a revelation for me today. And that's a real thing. And don't be surprised if somebody tells me that. Because of course I told you guys I'm a cream puff. I can cry at the drop of a hat. So, they flow easily for me. And so don't laugh at me, Terrell. So I'm just, but I'm always grateful. And I have to say again, Ms. Roberta, thank you for even sharing the quote with us, because that's something that resonated with you. And anytime you open up and share, we all learn and we all grow. And so I just have to say thank you to you, because
Yes.
for your courage in sharing with us, and we need it. And so we learn from you as much as you learn from us. And so I just want to say to anybody listening, one thing for sure and two things for certain: the ability to express emotion is healthy. A good cry is a good cleansing of the soul. And so learn to allow yourself that. And when it comes, if it doesn't come, it doesn't come. But if it does, enjoy it. Let it go. Live with it, right? But know, in our conversation today, the way to be free is to be like the trees. You watch the trees, the wind blow, whether it's a hard one or whether they do this, you see what I'm saying? They go whichever way it's going. And so when we become willing to be flexible about things, then we get the opportunity to be at peace and be content wherever we find ourselves. And did you want to say something else?
Yes. So I got shipped to Danbury, Connecticut from California in 2002. I had two 100 series shots in the feds, which are real serious, and I beat them. They told me I wasn't going to beat them, and they told me I could come back, because I told them it's 27 reasons why you can send me back. And the associate warden said, yeah, you're right. And then when I wrote her a cop out, and then she said, well, I'm going to have to check it out. And I ended up staying there 2.5 years before they sent me back to California. But they would tell me, you're going back. And then they would tell me I wasn't. And I would tell my mother every time. And one day I went to unit, the case manager said, oh, come here. You're going back. I said, yeah. No, you can tell your mother. I said, I'm not going to tell my mother, because every time I've told her. But my point in this is that every single time I would just do another administrative remedy or something. And one of the times they told me, and I called her, and she cried. I just went to my cube and I put my head down and I cried and cried so hard, and people just kept coming by, just rubbing my back. And then I raised up and I said, okay, start fighting again. And I started writing it up again, because sometimes you need that cleansing cry.
That's
sometimes
what
you need it.
And that's what made me go off on my friend on social media yesterday. Like, look, go ahead and have that cry. But then by all means, that's right. On your feet, soldier, and keep it pushing.
Yep.
And this has been another great session at Free to Heal. And I just want to thank everybody. And you can check us out on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the social media platforms. We look forward to seeing you guys next week. And you guys have a great week. Talk to you later. Bye.